number of civilians affected by conflict has continued to grow at a rate that has outpaced the ability of humanitarian agencies to...
The Sudanese delegation seemed unmoved by the February 2005 report from the UN Special Envoy to Sudan, Jan Pronk.
This is a dismal picture.
We are a developing country, we have our shortcomings, but we are unfairly treated, and the issue of Darfur has been blown out of proportion.
There would be 7 more resolutions in 2005. An arms embargo, a referral to the International Criminal Court, and an attempt to get troops on the ground. A small contingent of African Union troops had entered Darfur in 2004 to monitor a peace deal that fell apart. Every maneuver at the UN to bolster their numbers would fail. Everyone knew the force was underfunded, under-equipped, and unprepared. But it was all that Sudan would allow. It was another parade of UN weakness.
And they know full well that the African Union cannot find the resources, the military resources, to change the security dynamic on the ground. A grim genocide by attrition will proceed indefinitely.
But 2005 also brought a bold move to change the dynamics at the UN. The Canadian government had led a 5-year effort to establish a new principle called the responsibility to protect. Before the UN's World Summit, Canadian Prime Minister Paul Martin made the argument.
Madam Deputy, too often, permanent members have used the veto, real or threatened, to prevent effective action. Too often, we have debated the finer points of language while innocent people continue to die. Darfur is only the latest example.
They essentially came to the conclusion that sovereignty is no more an absolute. You cannot hide behind sovereignty when you are massively abusing people in your country through as extent to genocide or through simply massive crimes against humanity. You cannot let countries say, I'm a sovereign state, tough.
At the summit, world leaders toasted a final agreement that covered a great deal of ground. Within it was a section on the responsibility to protect. It was an endorsement of an emerging legal norm that gave the UN authority to intervene and, if necessary, even invade a country to protect the civilian population. It seemed to offer hope. But once again, principles the UN put on paper would not translate into concrete action to save the people of Darfur. Veteran UN officials were candid in their skepticism.
We don't mean it when we say that we're not going to accept other Rwandas, further Rwandas, but I never thought we did mean it. And it's a very sad conclusion, but I don't think there's any evidence to sustain the view that we did mean it. We may have meant it as a kind of at a level of generalized indignation, but when it comes to accepting the consequences of that, we don't.